I knew something was off the second I saw the HR rep perched in the corner of that tiny meeting room like a buzzard. Travis didn't even look me in the eye, just clicked his little Bluetooth headset off, folded his hands all CEO for a day, and said, "We're streamlining." That was it. No warm-up, no performance review, no chance to ask questions. Just a polished little knife to the gut. Your position is being eliminated to improve operational efficiency. He even had the nerve to smile, like we were sharing a moment. Like this wasn't the same guy who used to call me on Sundays because the sales pipeline dashboard had a weird color scheme. I nodded, shook his damn hand, walked out while HR clutched her clipboard like it was a crucifix. I didn't cry, not even in the parking lot. I sat in my car with the windows up, radio off, hands on the steering wheel like I was waiting for permission to breathe again. 14 years. 14 years of fixing other people's messes, documenting processes that saved the company thousands, training interns who later got promoted over me because they had shinier degrees. And just like that, gone. Stripped down to a bullet point in someone's PowerPoint. Q4 labor reduction, 1 headcount. Hey, real quick, before we get further into this story, just a small ask. If you're listening and you've ever been blindsided like this, or if you're just here for the chaos that's about to unfold, take a second to like the video and hit that subscribe button. I mean it. 97% of people listen without subscribing, and it really helps the team keep these stories going. All right, back to it. No farewell lunch, no card, just silence. My team couldn't even look me in the eye. The same folks I helped train who used to call me office mom because I kept painkillers and granola bars in my drawer suddenly acted like I'd died of something contagious. One of them whispered, "I'm so sorry," as I boxed up my pens. That stung more than Travis's speech. Sorry? For what? Surviving me? I drove home slow, like stupid slow, took the long route through neighborhoods I used to deliver pizzas in during college. At one point, I pulled into a grocery store lot just to sit. My hands were trembling, and I wasn't even mad yet. Just stunned, hollow, like I'd walked through a door and it slammed shut behind me, bolted from the other side. I didn't want revenge, not then. I just wanted to know why. Why now? Why me? Why like that? Travis didn't even have the decency to own it. Just corporate jargon and empty praise wrapped around a boot to the ribs. I got home and went straight to my laptop. I didn't open LinkedIn, didn't touch my resume. I opened our internal directory instead. And there he was, like a lighthouse in a hurricane, my brother, Brian. Title, Director of Strategic Oversight, which in normal person English means he knows where every body is buried and who put it there. I hadn't asked him for a favor in years, but I didn't need to. I just dragged that termination memo into an email, typed FYI, and hit send. No explanation, no commentary, just facts. Let the gears start turning. Let the silence do the talking. My nameplate was already gone. That was the first thing I noticed when I came back to clear out my desk. Just an empty strip of plastic where Senior Ops Analyst J. Hart used to be. Like the building itself was trying to erase me before I'd even left the parking lot. No one said a word when I walked in. Shelby from finance, who used to bring me holiday cookies, suddenly found the corner of her monitor really fascinating. Derek, that smug little Excel wizard I trained from scratch, actually spun his chair away from me like I was radioactive. Not one person made eye contact, but I could feel the tension thick as tar. Like the whole floor was waiting for me to flip a desk or scream. Instead, I started with the drawer that always stuck. The one I'd been meaning to WD-40 for 3 years, but never quite got around to. Pulled it open with a hard yank and started packing. My backup mouse. My ridiculous pencil case with a llama on it. The mug that said "World's Okayest Employee," gifted to me at last year's holiday party by Travis himself, that ironic little bastard. I packed everything carefully, deliberately, not for sentimental reasons, just so no one could say I made a mess on the way out. Someone had the gall to cough like they were trying to fill the silence. I didn't look up. I didn't give them the satisfaction. I didn't send a goodbye email. No vague, on to the next adventure LinkedIn post. I wasn't going to turn this into a Hallmark exit so everyone could feel better about watching me get gutted. On my way out, I dropped my badge into the little bin at reception. The security guard, Todd, gave me a look like he wanted to say something. I raised one hand, half wave, half don't. He nodded once. That was enough. At least someone in that building still had a soul. The drive home felt like driving through a dream I didn't remember having. I caught every red light. Not because I was unlucky, but because I was moving like molasses. Slow enough to notice how the leaves had started changing, how the Dunkin' on 5th finally fixed their damn sign. I got home and pulled into the driveway like I was afraid to wake the house up. Just sat there. Engine off, keys still in the ignition, fingers gripping the wheel until my knuckles turned white. That's when it hit me. Not rage, not sadness. Something colder. A tight coil settling just behind my ribs. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to scream. I was going to think. Because Travis didn't just fire me. He underestimated me. And that was his first mistake. You see, most people like Travis think power comes from titles, parking spaces, or the ability to schedule meetings without asking. They forget the real power lives in the shadows, behind the spreadsheets, the org charts, the approval chains, the people who know where things connect. And unfortunately for him, I happen to be related to one of those people. I didn't go inside for over an hour, just stared at the porch light flickering, thinking about every late night I'd stayed behind to save his metrics. Every time I trained someone so he could show off his team's productivity. My whole career had been a silent service. Travis thought he could cut me like a line item. But the thing about pressure is, it doesn't just crush. It carves. And I wasn't about to stay broken. It was sometime past midnight when I opened my laptop again. Not to job hunt. Not to wallow in some Reddit rabbit hole about rebuilding after layoffs. No, I opened the internal org chart. Not the dumbed-down one they hand out in onboarding packets, with everyone's headshots and inspirational quotes. I pulled up the real one, the one you can only access if you know where to look and still have a backdoor link from a process documentation thread no one ever deleted. Took 2 clicks to find him, Brian Hart, my brother, Director of Strategic Oversight, Level 4 clearance, dotted line reports to legal, compliance, and the goddamn COO. People forget what that role means. It's not flashy. It doesn't come with company-wide emails or LinkedIn selfies from conferences. But when something breaks, when a cross-functional initiative goes off the rails, or a vendor starts sniffing around for performance metrics, Brian's the guy they call to fix it before it hits the boardroom. He's the one who knows which rope pulls what lever. And he doesn't waste his time on office gossip or birthday cakes in the break room. Brian plays chess on a 3-dimensional board most people don't even know exists. I opened the termination memo. Reread the words like I was parsing a crime scene. In light of current budgetary constraints, alignment with future strategic goals, effective immediately. I could practically hear Travis's voice buried in those lifeless phrases. I didn't rage type a message, didn't send a crying emoji or some passive-aggressive, guess I'm free for lunch now, quip. I just dragged the file into a blank email, typed 3 letters, FYI, and hit send. That was it. No follow-up, no explanation. I wasn't cashing in a favor. I wasn't tattling. I was handing Brian a data point, a line in the system that, if cross-referenced with 3 others, would start to light up in red. See, what Travis didn't know, and what most of these next-gen leaders never learn, is that cutting costs doesn't happen in a vacuum. You eliminate a role, and you shift pressure somewhere else. You trim a budget line, and it creates a leak 2 departments over. The system notices. People like Brian notice. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the screen. My inbox showed no reply, and I didn't expect one. That's not how Brian works. He wasn't going to send me a meme or call to ask how I was holding up. He was going to file it away like a clue. And if that memo contradicted a performance report he saw last week, or flagged a resource misallocation he was already tracking, well, then Travis just became a variable worth investigating. I shut the laptop and walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of wine, sat at the table in silence, the kind of silence that comes after a controlled burn. I didn't feel helpless anymore. I felt exact. Like I'd just planted a steel pin into the foundation of a building and walked away, knowing the next tremor would make it crack. Let Travis celebrate his little spreadsheet victory. Let him brag on Slack about taking hard steps for the team's long-term vision. He had no idea the team he cut wasn't finished playing, because he didn't just eliminate my job, he triggered a system response, and the system has teeth. Sunday night, while everyone else was posting pumpkin patch selfies and pretending not to dread Monday, my inbox lit up. 1 new message. Subject line, FYI, from Brian. Got it. That's all he wrote. No punctuation, no sorry or we'll talk soon or what the hell happened? Just 2 words. And from Brian, that might as well have been a battle horn. He doesn't do comfort. He does calculus. If he was replying at all, it meant the gears were turning somewhere behind the glass walls at corporate. He wouldn't tip his hand. He never does. But I knew that memo had landed somewhere it wasn't supposed to. That was enough. By Monday morning, I was still technically unemployed, but that didn't mean I wasn't working. I had coffee in one hand, phone in the other, and a grim curiosity growing in my gut. I wasn't stalking Travis, let's be clear. I was monitoring. There's a difference. Monitoring implies strategy, and strategists don't act out of anger. We act because we see the ending before the first scene plays out. I opened LinkedIn and nearly spit out my coffee. There he was. Travis, leadership is listening more, posting a selfie with a ring light reflection in his glasses and some fake deep quote about change being hard but necessary. His caption was practically smug enough to be a confession. Tough decisions sometimes pave the way for bold leadership. Excited to explore new opportunities in Q4. Growth mindset. Leadership matters. The man had fired me on a Friday and by Monday was auditioning for Thought Leader of the Year. 2 hours later, I got a text from Rena, an old colleague from supply chain who left the company last year but still had eyes on the ground. Hey, weird Q, was your role part of the flagship rollout for the Zurich client? I told her yes. She responded almost instantly. Yeah, just heard Travis is pushing hard to lead it, like name on the brochure hard. I stared at that message for a solid minute. That rollout was worth 7 figures annually, loaded with logistics dependencies and interdepartmental workflow chains I built from the ground up. I'd spent 18 months mapping the damn thing so we could scale globally without another Qatar bottleneck situation. Travis didn't even know what half the acronyms meant in our scope doc. He was trying to wear my work like a rental tux and parade it in front of corporate like it was his tailor-made suit. That's when the bitterness started to shift. Rage is loud, spite is sharp, but curiosity, that's quiet and dangerous. I started wondering what Brian had seen, what else was moving. If Travis had volunteered for the spotlight gig, he'd put himself right in the blast zone of every metric, every audit, every efficiency review corporate had been salivating over since Q2. And if Brian so much as nudged a compliance team in his direction, well, the bigger the role, the bigger the crater when it collapses. I leaned back, sipping the rest of my coffee. There's a certain calm that settles in when you realize you're not in the game anymore, but the rules are still playing out in your favor. Travis didn't know it yet, but his name wasn't rising. It was circling the drain, and I was the one who flushed it. Phone rings late Thursday night. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail, assuming it was some recruiter wanting to circle back on a contract role I hadn't even applied for. But something in my gut said answer. I swipe. No hello, no pleasantries. Just. So, Travis fired you for cost reasons? Brian's voice, dry as ever, but I can hear the smirk through the line. Yup, I say, popping the P a little harder than necessary. That's what the memo said. Cost-cutting, efficiency, alignment with future strategic priorities. All the usual euphemisms for, you've outlived your usefulness. He chuckles, short and surgical. Interesting, he says. Because his current integration project just reported a 12.3% overrun, and that's before the vendor delays and the new CRM license renewal they forgot to factor in. I sit up straighter on my couch. 12%? Already? Yup, he says, mirroring my tone. Flagged during this morning's budget recon. CFO wasn't pleased. Neither was legal. There's a pause. One of Brian's signature silences. He doesn't talk to fill space. He talks when he's ready to drop a line you can't unhear. And sure enough, a beat later. Also, interesting how he restructured the team just before that overrun. Removed someone with 14 years of platform continuity, replaced her with a junior analyst who's apparently been learning on the fly. That phrase came up 3 times in the last performance sync. I blink. My wine glass is still in my hand, but my fingers have gone cold around it. You're reading the reports. I'm reading everything, he replies. Because the Zurich rollout is now triggering compliance exceptions in 3 categories. And someone from procurement pinged my team asking why the ops sign-off chain changed 2 weeks before deployment. A quiet settles between us, one charged with something heavier than sibling loyalty. This isn't a family favor. This is infrastructure unraveling. Travis didn't just cut me. He destabilized a system that was held together by institutional glue. And now the cracks were starting to glow under the black light. You didn't tell them I sent you anything, right? I ask, not because I don't trust him, but because I know how these things move. Gossip spreads like wildfire, especially when power's in play. Please, Brian snorts. I'm not an amateur. I'm just correlating anomalies, and there are a lot of them. Travis's fingerprints are on every misstep, and now there's a pattern forming. I exhale slowly, my mind ticking like a metronome. So what happens now? Now, Brian says. Now I observe, I document, I let the data speak. And when someone above my pay grade starts asking why our flagship integration is hemorrhaging resources, I'll have a tidy little packet ready to explain how it all started, with a strategic streamlining decision that removed the wrong person at the worst possible time. He doesn't have to say the rest. I know how these internal cleanups work. First comes the audit, then comes the realignment. After that, a quiet reassignment email and someone's name quietly disappearing from the org chart. I'll keep you posted, he adds. And hey, don't update your resume just yet. The call ends. I sit there for a long minute, heart thudding, not from adrenaline, but from validation. This isn't petty. It's not revenge. It's a reckoning. I didn't need to take Travis down. I just needed to step aside long enough for him to prove how replaceable he was. And now, finally, the system is noticing. By Monday, the company Slack was buzzing like a wasp nest someone poked with a budgeting stick. Nothing official, of course, just that strange uptick in pings and polite questions in irrelevant channels. The kind that start with, hey, just looping in, and end with someone's digital pulse going flat. Internal chatter had shifted from Halloween party planning to vague whispers about project realignment and performance recalibrations, which in corporate dialect means the tower's leaning and someone's about to get pinned beneath it. I hadn't reached out to anyone, hadn't so much as liked a comment. But I knew the current. You can smell it when a company's blood starts turning cold. Someone in accounting flagged an inconsistency. Someone in compliance flagged a delay. Someone in logistics quietly pushed a calendar invite that included a name no one recognized. And just like that, a stranger appeared on the Zurich rollout timeline. Her name was Felicia Park. I looked her up. Been with the company 9 years, same region as us, but satellite office. Zero connection to Travis, zero shared projects. Mid-level on paper, but with enough high-stakes deployments under her belt to make even senior managers pause. And now, she was listed as co-project lead on the flagship integration. Just slid in there like a chess piece no one remembered placing. Travis hadn't posted since his inspirational Friday fluff piece. His higher growth mindset tone had gone eerily quiet, almost like someone told him to stop broadcasting. The internal directory still listed him under project lead, but Felicia was now showing up on the approval flows for contracts, deliverables, timelines. Then the kicker hit, the access logs. Someone forwarded me a screenshot, redacted, of course, but the names were clear. Travis's user ID had been removed from the final signatory block for vendor engagement approvals. That's like telling a ship captain, you can still wear the hat, but you're not allowed near the wheel. The irony wasn't lost on me. I used to manage those approval flows. I built that documentation. That structure didn't shift by accident. Someone had reviewed the chain, found the weak link, and rerouted the entire process around him, politely, quietly, surgically. I sat at my kitchen table, drinking coffee that had gone cold, watching the sun move across the floorboards. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't even feel angry anymore. I felt accurate, like a puzzle piece finally clicked into place after sitting on the wrong corner of the table for too long. Travis didn't know yet, not really. To him, this probably felt like a collaborative support realignment, or some other euphemism corporate uses when they're prepping someone for irrelevance. But I knew the signs. When you lose signing authority, when a project brings in a shadow lead, when your name drops off the email invites without explanation, you're not being supported, you're being studied, and someone, somewhere, is building a file on why you're no longer necessary. And the best part? I didn't move the knife. I didn't touch it. I just made sure it was visible in the light. Because sometimes, all it takes is letting a man cut his own credibility open with the very systems he thought made him untouchable. It landed at 9:14 a.m. sharp, subject line clinical, sterile, like it had been scrubbed clean of human fingerprints. Project lead reassignment, Zurich Client Initiative. No emojis, no great news, just a plain text slab dropped into inboxes company-wide. I was already sipping my second cup of coffee, reading the news like a retired boxer watching someone else's match. The memo didn't even pretend to soften the blow. It opened with an acknowledgement of recent structural evaluations and ended with the appointment of Felicia Park as the lead for all Zurich integration workflows, effective immediately. No mention of Travis, not a single syllable. I clicked into the project portal just to confirm. His name? Scrubbed. His profile photo, once a smug headshot in a tie he wore just for that day, gone. Replaced by a generic pending update placeholder. His calendar invites? Reissued. Ownership tags on key files? Reassigned. Slack threads? Silenced. And then, like clockwork, my phone started lighting up. Did you see this? WTF is happening with Travis? Is Felicia the new lead? No announcement. A message from someone in HR, one I hadn't spoken to in months, simply read, "Whoa." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. What was there to say? That Travis had slipped on his own ego? That the budget ballooned the minute he took the wheel? That maybe, just maybe, cost-cutting isn't leadership if it decapitates the engine? No one asked where I was. No one linked my name to the shift. Because I didn't rage post. I didn't torch the place on the way out. I just walked away and let the system run the diagnostics. Let it trace the failures like a spider web back to their source. The beauty of it all was how quiet it was. No email from him, no frantic call, no apology text trying to reframe the past, just silence. The kind of silence that comes when someone realizes the power they thought they had was borrowed, and the person they dismissed was the one who built the lending terms. I stood by the window, warm mug in hand, staring out at the trees turning orange in the yard. I felt no need to celebrate. No high-five moment. Just peace. Peace that the balance had corrected itself. That competence had, for once, outlived charisma. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to gloat. Travis was gone from the spotlight, and his name wasn't even etched into the warning sign. Just quietly removed, like an error in a formula corrected by someone who didn't need applause. I opened my laptop again and started working on a proposal for a small client I'd taken on the week before. Consulting had been slow, but steady, honest. And as I typed, I felt it. Not joy, not victory. Closure. Clean, heavy, and real. Phone buzzes. Blocked number. I already know who it is. I let it ring until it stops. Don't even blink. Just sit on the porch with my coffee and watch a squirrel try to carry half a Pop-Tart up a tree? It's a better use of my attention than whatever apology or spin Travis thinks he can sell me. 5 minutes later, a text comes through from some burner number he probably grabbed off Google Voice. Hey, would love to talk, man. Clear the air. Man, the irony. Suddenly, I'm man again, like we ever shared some sacred bond beyond him scheduling meetings over my lunch break and taking credit for work he didn't understand. Clear the air? The air is already clear, because he's no longer in it. I don't reply. I don't even tap the notification. Let it sit there, rotting in the corner of my screen like an expired coupon. Travis doesn't get the dignity of closure, not from me. A few hours later, I get a message from Brian. No context, just a screenshot. Internal meeting request from T. More to Director, Strategic Oversight. The very title Travis once told a group of interns was just back-end compliance noise. The subject line? Request, one-on-one, clarification on role transition. Below it, status, denied. I stare at it for a moment, then chuckle. Not loud, just one of those involuntary exhales that escapes when karma stops being a concept and becomes a calendar entry. It hits me, then, not the satisfaction of seeing him squirm, not vengeance, not even glee, just this grounded, unshakable calm. I didn't twist the knife. I didn't even pull the trigger. I just handed the system a fact, and it did what it was built to do. Process failure. And now, here we are. Travis, the guy who once told me, we all have to make tough calls, some of us just have the stomach for it, is standing outside the very door he helped lock, begging to be let back in. Except this time, he doesn't hold the badge. I do, and I don't even need to use it. I never did send a goodbye email. No grand send-off, no LinkedIn sob story, no announcement about new beginnings. I just disappeared, filed away in the system as a closed ticket. But funny thing about quiet exits, they make people curious. And curiosity keeps doors half-cracked for longer than they should be. 3 weeks after Travis vanished from the org chart, I started consulting full-time. No fancy title, no desk plaques, no Monday check-ins. Just me, a laptop, and a spreadsheet that actually made sense. A few clients from my old vendor network reached out with low-key SOS messages. You still doing process optimization? Got a mess here? Could use your brain? No pitches, no sales deck. Just trust. The kind you can't buy with buzzwords or shiny slides. The kind that takes 14 years to build and one smug manager to remind you it's worth more than any job title. I didn't gloat, didn't go digging for updates. Brian kept me loosely in the loop, enough to know Travis had been moved to an advisory track, which in corporate speak means a folding chair in the corner until the severance math checks out. His calendar was empty, his Slack icon dim. Someone told me he was last seen on leave, but still posting motivational quotes like he hadn't been exiled into obsolescence. It was almost sad. Almost. Then came the walk. It was accidental, really. I was cutting across town after a meeting and ended up passing the building. That building. The one I used to arrive at before sunrise. The one where I'd patched up a dying logistics system with duct tape, brute force, and too much coffee. I paused for a second, not out of nostalgia, but curiosity, habit. Through the tinted glass, I saw the front desk was still manned. Same receptionist. April. She glanced up, recognition flickering, and for a moment I thought she might wave. But instead, she mouthed two simple words with a tiny grin. "He's gone." No explanation. No need. Just that. I nodded, smiled once, and kept walking. No slowing down, no lingering, just steps forward, past the building, past the memory, past the silence they gave me when I needed truth. Because in the end, I didn't need revenge. I didn't need validation. I just needed the system to see what it tried to erase. They cut me to save money. It cost him everything.